People often talk about soul-aligned action, but what is that really? And how do we know if an action is soul-aligned or not? And what if we feel like we're not intuitive or just totally disconnected from our intuition? If that is you, then today's video is for you, as I will show you the 4-step process I use for myself and with my clients to receive those infamous soul-aligned action steps or soul guidance in any and every area of your life. Welcome to your Freak to Genius channel. I'm Chris and I'm here to help you transform and grow and to alchemize the lead in your life into gold with joy, ease, and fun, because you're here to live the life you love. I don't have a fixed schedule because I allow things to drop in when they are ready with divine timing, so I invite you to subscribe if you want to be informed when new clips land. But now let's dive into today's episode and create some magic together. When I started working with this intuitive approach that I actually shared about in my last video, I noticed that especially in the beginning, my clients often had troubles accessing their intuition and actually receiving something in those circles. And of course, I can share what I myself get for them, but that is never really as powerful as when they see and feel it themselves, when they step into the circle and receive the information, and when my additional perspective is just like an extra support and the cherry on top and really fun. And it took me a while to understand that it's especially when their nervous systems are hyperactive and dysregulated that they can struggle to access their intuition. So first off, I'd love for you to meet Georgie. Georgie represents what's called our reptilian brain, that part of our brain that keeps us safe and alive. And according to Paul MacLean's triune brain theory from the 1960s, this part is the oldest, most instinctual part of our brain. And in this theory, he postulated that the brain evolves in 3 different layers. For him, this was very neat. So the first layer was the instincts in the brainstem and the basal ganglia, and that was the oldest part. Then came the emotions and memory in the limbic system. And then finally, in the 3rd layer, was the neocortex with the higher cognitive functions for imagination, decision-making, and language and such. Now, while this is a rather simplistic model, as these brain areas unfortunately did not evolve quite as neatly separated, but are so much more complex and interlinked, there's still some truth to it. Plus, it's just really a great metaphor and visual, so I would love for you to just stick with me. And so what happens essentially is that Georgie gets woken up when something is unfamiliar, and he's then in a high alert state to keep us safe. And with our lives being so fast-paced nowadays, with so much time spent online, Georgie is just overwhelmed by all that incoming information that he needs to process. He needs to sort through everything and see what is familiar, what is not, what is safe, what isn't. And if you compare today's information influx with that from like 100 years ago, you will understand why we are more disconnected from our intuition than when we lived without electricity, for example. And you will understand why Georgie can't really relax anymore unless we make that a priority. So there is something you can do, obviously, and a habit you can build in general, but also specifically when you want to tune into something with structured intuition. So what you do before trying to access your intuition and your imagination is you calm down your nervous system. And there's 1,000 ways of doing that, obviously. And we share a whole area of them in our Skool community, the LifeSurfers, where intuition is the basis of everything that we do. And if you want to have a taste of that, there's a link to our free first aid kit in the show notes. But whatever you choose to do, whether it's a meditation or grounding or breath work, or maybe a round of tapping, like I said, there's tons of ways. Whatever you choose to do, you relax Georgie with that. And that allows you to access those higher brain areas that you need when you want to use your intuition. And like that, you don't just survive, because Georgie is awesome for that, but rather you get to tune into the things that allow you to thrive. So that is the first step. The second step is to imagine being in a landscape where you feel utterly safe, you cannot fail, you're incredibly supported, and most importantly, everything is possible. When you tune into that, you know that Georgie is asleep and he feels safe and good. So here you can create the circle that I talked about in my last video, which contains the highest truth about a situation, anything that you're looking into. And that can be something that you're wanting to create. It can be a relationship, a decision you want to make, or any given situation, really. And you activate the circle by defining which information it will hold. So, for example, you can say, I choose to receive everything my soul wants to share with me about the highest expression and the potential of the situation XYZ. And then you step inside and simply receive. You become aware. You rise to the meta level, so to speak. So your intuition can come through any of your senses. You can feel something, you can see symbols and signs, you can hear things. It could be anything. And then you start by saying, what's obvious to me about this is, and then you start unpacking whatever came through for you. Most likely, if your nervous system is relaxed enough, this will be something beautiful and magical. And you can imagine this as setting your GPS coordinates to your goal destination, because your soul circle is your highest expression. That's where you want to be going. Step 3 of the 4 steps is to tune into your egoic worries and fears and questions then. So that is your current reality, your starting point, because without this, the energy in the whole system is untethered. You need to know where you're starting at in order to know which route to take to your destination, right? So again, you can create a circle, step inside to receive and become aware of all the things that are often unconsciously running your show. And by becoming aware of them, you can neutralize them. And if they are emotionally intense, I often add some energy work to the process to integrate it at a deeper level. And that can be EFT or parts of Darren Wiseman's Lifeline technique or a Ho'oponopono forgiveness ritual. There's many ways you can neutralize and integrate these energies. And sometimes it's really enough already to just become aware of what's happening in there. And then in the final step, which can actually be the most important one, that is called the bridge of action. That is where you start the car, you put your foot on the gas, because you have to take action to arrive where you want to go, and just sitting in the car won't get you anywhere, right? So in the process of alchemy, the egoic circle is the lead that creates the tension energy. The soul vision is the gold that you end up creating, and the action you take is rubedo, the red tincture that you use in order to seal the deal, so to speak. So that's why taking an action is incredibly important. It can often seem nonsensical what comes through as your action step. It can seem too small or even unrelated. And when that's the case, you can celebrate, because this is proof for it truly being soul aligned and not coming from your logical mind. And whatever comes through in these circles, I urge you to take that action step, and best as soon as possible, because our hearts always know the fastest route to our envisioned end result, and that will include doing things that our little minds would never have come up with. So the action step usually takes you on an exponential journey, even if it seems ridiculously small. And there's this whole long to-do list of things that your logical mind feels are necessary for you to get from A to Z. But really, what it takes is that bridge of action, that soul-aligned action step. So yeah, try it out. And if you want to have guided practices with this, we will be doing quite a bit of that in our LifeSurfers community on Skool. And otherwise, I shall see you in the next video. See you then.